for this opportunity as well.
Great. So this interview is part of the World Rubber series, World Rubber Summit series, whereby we interview key players within the rubber ecosystem.
Yes.
So it's really fortunate for us to be able to have you here today. You are the General Manager for Bridgestone Singapore, and the scope of your responsibility largely covers the mid and upstream sourcing, as well as the ensuring of the quality of the production, as well as delivery of the finished product towards the production facilities of Bridgestone.
Yes.
You've been with the company for over 13 years.
Yes.
When you started out there, I think there wasn't any other lady in the same role as yours, and you were the only female back then, and you had the nickname Rubber Girl.
Exactly.
If I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So it's really interesting because you are going to be involved in a panel during the World Rubber Summit, and you're going to be talking about the role of women within the rubber ecosystem.
Yes.
So I think as a wonderful segue for this discussion, maybe we can start with a little bit about you first and some of your personal interests.
Okay, sure. Of course, firstly, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity again, and for me to share a little bit about myself. My name is Kok Fung. Currently, I'm the General Manager in Bridgestone Singapore. I have been with the company for 13 years, as you know. And during my tenure, I have the opportunity to take care of several key aspects of the business, include strategic planning, procurement, logistics, and documentations. And of course, besides those practical business view, I also take care of the CSR area as well. And it is really good to have this opportunity because I have really deep knowledge in the international natural rubber business. I actually handle and communicate very closely with our downstream supply chain partners from different locations, Japan, USA, Latin America, Russia, China, and the rest of the world, as well as midstream to upstream business chain supply partner as well, from the processing factories, logistic partners, and also the port authorities to well discuss our requirements for each location, both in Asia and also in West Africa. And in recent years, I focus more on developing the business chain in Africa. So I travel frequently to West Africa. And on the personal front, actually, I have strong interest in the language because I believe to have to learn a new language will help me to bridge myself and to learn about the new culture and also the traditions. And from there, I really feel very grateful that myself can speak several languages like English, Bahasa, Mandarin, Hokkien, as well as a little bit of Thai and Japanese, which turned out to be very helpful for me and to bridge in bridging myself with the various stakeholders in the natural rubber multicultural industry.
I understand you actually learned Thai because when you started out in the business of doing procurement, you actually had to speak in Thai to your...
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So as you know, during then, this industry, people in this industry, they are a bit traditional, and during then, most of them are still very much speaking their own languages. For example, in Thailand, when I need to call them to buy rubber, I need to ask them, hello, wani raka taurai, bersam bersi. For example, need to check the price. But as the time changes, now the younger generation, second generation or third generation is taking over the business. So most of them can speak English. So the opportunity to speak Thai maybe is getting lesser compared to before.
I think your long tenure in this industry is quite indicative of how business is done in the mid and upstream, because it's a lot about relationships, and it's not always your name card and who you are. It's about who you know and how long and how trustworthy you are in terms of dealing with them.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so I think moving on to our second question, which is really related to the panel discussion which you're going to be a part of during the World Rubber Summit. You're really going to speak on the increasing competitiveness of women in the global value chain for the rubber industry. So I think to be able to give our viewers understanding, could you share what you're looking to discuss within this panel?
All right. Actually, I look forward to discuss several topics which I felt is really relevant for the industry. First is the women inclusiveness in the rubber industry and how it has evolved over the years.
Okay.
And then secondly, the role of women in the family. especially the smallholders case, and also the challenges that the women may face in fulfilling their role, as well as how we can support the women rubber tapper and also those in the manufacturing industry, as well as to pick up some of the good points on the initiative that we can see has been carried on in other industry, for example, in encouraging sourcing from minority and women business owners. And I believe that we can cross-reference there and pick up some of the good points to incorporate into our natural rubber value chain as well.
Okay, so I think the key question we want to identify or to be able to also address is this view that women have limited roles in the rubber ecosystem true or false?
False. I would say from my own observations, things has much improved compared to when I first joined the industry.
Right.
And I can say for sure that we can find women representation across the entire supply chain.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in our discussion before this interview proper, you gave many examples of how starting all the way from upstream, how smallholders typically is a husband and wife team.
Yes.
How women are present within the factories in terms of the production of the finish or the processed rubber products, whether it's a RBS, is it correct? Or
RSS.
RSS or TSR, correct?
And yeah, TSR stands for Technical Specified Rubber.
Right, and it's also a common, it's not uncommon to see women who are heads of their own departments or head of the entire factories.
Yes.
Could you share with us some of these examples if you could?
Sure. Yes, it's my pleasure to share some of the examples with you from my observation and also some field survey that I have conducted over the years.
Okay.
On the commercial front, I can say that we can find in the specific job segment, we can find high women representation as well. One good example is in the logistics, documentation, finance, and also accounting aspect. And of course, from the processing factory, to be honest, in general impression is that we will need a lot of physical works. So even nowadays, we can find the male workforce in the factory should be the main dominating in the factory. However, I can give a few examples whereby women can equally contribute to the factory process as well. For example, in the RSS process that you briefly mentioned just now in Thailand, we can find quite a balance between the labor composition there, between male and female. And from the start of the processing in the RSS factory, from the washing line right up to the finished good, we can see a lot of women representation there. One unique factors in the RSS factory that I would like to point out here, and I believe those who are familiar with the rubber industry, they will know this very well. But for those who are not, I take this opportunity to share, is really the clipping and the grading process. To be honest, this is one of the key business area that we need to pay attention.
Yeah.
Because in order to clip and to grade is really need a very specific skill set.
Right.
And to be honest, they will be paid a better salary compared to their peers. So this is very good news, especially for women working in this segment of the job.
And it's 100% women, right?
Almost 100% women employees for this work segment. If you have opportunity to visit some of the RSS factory, you will observe the same tendency as well. That is for RSS. And of course, there is another grade that we mentioned, TSR grade, Technical Specified Rubber. And nowadays, we observe that the processes are more automated compared to before.
Right.
And for the factory itself, we can also find a lot of control panels inside the control room where they can monitor the whole process very smoothly. So we can imagine that it is quite similar to those chemical plants, and logically and general impression is this job does not require a lot of physical strength. So obviously women can also take up the role in this aspect. Right. And last but not least, in the laboratory aspect also, we can find a lot of women representation over there for laboratory. Right. And just to add on, this is one growing trend that I observe over the years from the factories. The women forklift drivers are also increasing. Right. It is quite surprising for me as well, but it is true. And when we asked the owner of the factory, they commented that actually the women forklift driver, they are more careful. And of course, they do not compromise any of the work expectation. Believe it or not, but it is true.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting because you are a chemical engineer by training as well.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I think you gave a good coverage of the scope and how women are present across the entire ecosystem.
Right.
If we look at your own job as well, it's not an easy one because you travel to small plantation holders, you travel to TSR and as well as the RSR factories. Right?
RSS
factories, yes. Correct. And it's not just a job where you push paper. You actually have to visit these locations.
Exactly.
You have to decide, okay, if you're going to source from a particular production facility, and you need to figure out how to get it to your production facilities in
exactly. Yes.
And it's not easy at all. Could you share a little bit more about what goes on in the day-to-day life for you as a GM?
I see. Yeah, exactly. To be honest, nowadays, we do not only focus on some of the documentation work inside the office itself.
Right.
And we really spend a lot of our time really on the ground.
Right.
And in our company, actually, we do encourage Genbusu Genba in Japanese, means on-site observation, because we really want to know what is the real situation on the site. So for me, to be honest, I would say almost 70% of my time is actually spent on the site to really study what is going on right from the upstream, from the plantation side, up to the midstream, how the rubber is being processed, and to engage our supply chain partner from the logistic partners, shipping carriers, and the port authority to understand how we can work out the logistic in order to move up the cargo smoothly to our tire plant, which is in the downstream.
Right.
And of course, the remaining 30%, I still need to cover some of the work in the office with some meetings that we need to take care of as
I understand.
well. Yeah.
Okay. Could you share some, I mean, on the topic of having women within the workforce and having a good representation, could you share some of the best practices that Bridgestone has been practicing?
Yeah, this is really very good questions for us. Of course, I'm really glad that I can share a little bit from the point of labor composition in Bridgestone Singapore. And in our office, actually, we have more female employees compared to male employees. Maybe it's a bit surprising, but it is true. And from which segment of the departments we have more female, mainly is logistic, documentation, finance, and accounting team. Actually, 100% are women. And from the trading aspect and also quality assurance, in fact, in recent years, also gradually increased in the women representation in those departments. And the good news is the middle management, we also have more and more women management coming into the team as well.
I think that's a wonderful point because you didn't start off by saying that it was a company policy to employ X number of women. The fact of the matter is, I mean, based on my understanding, it's merit based.
Yes.
And it's based on what they bring to the job in terms of their skills and their abilities, rather than having an arbitrary number. We need to have X number of women.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Can we also talk about the initiatives that you are currently driving in Bridgestone?
Sure.
Could you share a bit with us?
Okay, sure. It's my pleasure. As you know, nowadays the CSR and the sustainability requirement is getting more severe.
Right.
And one of the aspects that we pay equal attention is also to promoting the gender equality as well. To be honest, in Bridgestone Singapore, as I briefly covered, that we have more female employee compared to male employee. And our management continue to encourage our female employee and empower them to take up more higher responsibility as well.
And you're a good example.
Yeah, I'm really glad and grateful that this opportunity also come to me as well. Yeah, equal opportunity to both male and female. And this is really very much in line with the United Nations Sustainability Development Goal number 5, which is encourage the gender equality and empowering women and girls as well. So what I would like to add on furthermore is also very fundamental. Also recap a little bit on the concept that I mentioned earlier on Genbusu Genba,
right.
On-site observation. To be honest, most of our employees are encouraged to go on site to understand the real situation. And our female employee, all of them have the opportunity to go for the business trip as long as it is closely related to their work area, in order to step up their knowledge and also to strengthen the business foundation arrangement as well. Right. So these are some of the areas that we are also looking on. And in addition to that, just to share, internally, you also may already realize from my earlier sharing that our quality assurance team mainly are male staff. Okay. However, we are still working very closely and smoothly with a lot of respect and close communication. We carry out a lot of projects together. So in that sense, in fact, there isn't really a visible or invisible gender barrier in that sense. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think it's what you're sharing is really wonderful, because to be able to do what you do and to deal with the midstream, upstream, as well as downstream, it takes a very different skill set. On one hand, the plantation owners deal a lot based on trust.
Right.
And downstream, it could be more because of your role and your responsibility within the business. So you need to keep toggling between these two areas, and it's not easy.
Yes.
And for you to be able to do it so well and to attain the position which you have, I'm quite sure it's really based on merit, and it's wonderful to be able to see women taking up such strategic positions within an incredible company like Bridgestone, which is the #1 player globally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So I think our final question would be about the key drivers of the next disruption. There are a lot of potential drivers, but could you share with us one or two?
Oh, sure. Actually, I can immediately think of two potential drivers that may disrupt the industry.
Okay.
Yeah, first is the sustainability trend.
All right.
Yeah,
buzzword of the year, sustainability.
Yes, right? Exactly. I think this is really a big topic nowadays. Everyone is paying attention. It is gaining momentum in recent years, especially in the natural rubber industry.
Right.
And to be honest, we believe that the movement will be getting faster and faster. The requirement will be more stringent. Right. And this is definitely will trigger more actions by the rubber companies in different levels in their supply chains to do something quickly in order to make sure the source of rubber is sustainable and is ethically sourced. So I feel that this will be the really game changer for the industry, and it will really change how the business will be carried out in the future.
I agree.
Right. Several fundamental changes that we can expect from here could be, we must have at least some traceability system in place, like identify who and where the source of raw material come from, right, as well as to map out some of the potential risky area, and definitely we need to avoid those areas, right, as part of our strategic sourcing plan.
I completely agree. I think the provenance of the natural rubber is critical in deciding how much to pay for it, right? And the level of transparency into which the transactions are made. I think that's probably critical moving forward.
Right.
What are your thoughts on automakers becoming concerned about the source of natural rubber?
I see. Yeah, to be honest, last year, we also read from the newspaper, one of the major car maker, GM, did mention that they would like to source sustainable rubber. Of course, I think this is a very good direction and definitely will drive the whole industry towards this direction. And we can observe that all the tire company and also the processing plant, everyone in the industry are working towards the same direction, surely.
Right. It bodes a better future for everybody if everybody's concerned about the source of the rubber, right?
Right. And to add on, I think there is another potential driver that I would like to add on as well. On top of the sustainability trend, is I would like to quote that the development of new technology also very much potentially disrupt the whole entire industry.
Okay, what new technology are you talking about?
Actually, I would like to quote two examples that I read from the news quite recently. One is about the Geneva Car Show in Switzerland last year. Right. They are talking about the world unveil the first flying cars and potentially to deliver the first car in 2019, after the production model get the 100% final safety inspection. Right. So we are monitoring very closely. It's really interesting how it will bring us to the different level of playing ground. And also in the East, the Japanese tire maker also working on to build the flying car as well, with the potentially to light up the Olympic lights with this flying car in the 2020 Olympic in Tokyo. to be honest, is really very exciting. And we really need to observe whether with those development in the pipeline, whether we still need more tires and rubber. But obviously, I hope that we still need the tire, especially when we land the flying cars. In any case, let's monitor how it will impact the demand and supply for the rubber moving forward.
You know, it's very interesting that you talk about flying cars because right now most tire manufacturers are just concerned about the new range of tires that have to be built to support EV vehicles, because EV requires a completely different kind of tire because of the higher torque output. Wear rates are 20% high, but you're looking even further than that. You're already looking at what's next, right? So I think it bodes well for the industry as a whole to have forward thinkers like yourself in critical positions like this to make sure that the supply chain operates at optimum efficiency. And I think you're also a great role model for all the women out there who may be considering senior positions within the industry and that there is technically no glass ceiling at all.
Yes.
So I think it's really wonderful for us to be able to have the time to be able to speak with you today, and we wish you all the best in your panel discussion.
Thank you very much.
March event.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.